Now, as we continue to monitor the Abuja elections today, the credibility of any democracy does not begin on presidential election day. It begins much earlier. It begins in smaller elections like the local elections. Now, elections that test the strength, the neutrality, and also the preparedness of the institutions that are responsible for managing the vote. And in Abuja, attention is now firmly on the independent National Electoral Commission as it prepares to conduct the area council elections this very day here today.
Now, for many Nigerians, the credibility of these elections will shape public confidence, not just in the outcome, but also in the process itself. Because when voters trust the system, participation grows. But when the trust is weakened, democracy itself begins to feel distant. To help us examine this, we are now joined by Mazino. Would you give us the
Yes,
details?
indeed. We are joined by Nathaniel Atebije. He's been on with us with Nyota in Abuja. They're coming in from Abuja, by the way. He's the former national president, Nigeria Institute of Town Planners. And also we have joining us Dr. Barry Johnson, first country director for Vote Must Count initiative. Gentlemen, you are welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. We also still have on standby our correspondent, Sumaya Abubakar, who is in Abuja, one of the council areas from before. I think she said Kuje, and Olugbenga George also joins us. But first, Mr. Johnson, Dr. Johnson and Mr. Nathaniel, let's come to you. Let's talk about AMAC. Let's talk about the Municipal Area Council and the challenges or the issues that might be therein. Now, AMAC is one of the biggest councils here by fact that it is proximate to power, whether we like it or not. And in politics, representation is actually power. So if you can get AMAC, that transcends to what people think Nigeria would actually be like. It's like our little board, our little abacus for calculating our democracy. So I'm wondering, what issues do you, gentlemen, first think is at stake? Dr. Barry Johnson, if you'd go first.
I would say that it is clear that the elections in the FCT is something that we should look forward to. And you see, if you look at AMAC, the calculation of elections in Nigeria, when you win the AMAC, it means that you have started working and you have started pushing down your political party in the hearts of the Nigerian people. And in the history of AMAC elections, we always have up to the level of 19,000 votes to become the AMAC chairman, because a lot of people don't really get interested to come out to vote, even to even participate in the elections because of some issues. But in the case of what we are having today, the opposition is strong, the candidates is strong, and the ruling party in the FCT, in AMAC, will really get bashed today. It's going to be like a do or die event where we say Nigeria and Brazil is playing a World Cup final. The ADC and the APC. So practically today, for us, we just don't want to use the word do or die, but we say it's a bashing election for today in AMAC.
Now, looking at the specificality of these Abuja Council elections, what areas present the greatest risk to technological integrity? This could be in terms of logistics, transparency, or result management.
Well, I think, you see, like I said, most of the time that the elections are conducted in the FCT, AMAC is always a flashpoint, a red point, where you look at people rigging the elections, people participating in election malpractices and all that. And for this particular election, like I said, it's going to be a bashing election. It's the opportunity to see where we can say AMAC has one of the biggest vote registration for people who wants to come out and vote. AMAC has a very, very serious issue when it comes to the people living in it. You see, the FCT, when people say, I live in Abuja, they all refer to AMAC. AMAC is the local council that houses the presidency. That's the president of Nigeria, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, lives in it. All the ministers live in it. The House of Reps, the senators live in it. So you see, it's an election that is going to be very, very strong. And unfortunately, for the ruling party, it's going to be a bashing election where votes must count. Remember, in 2023, this same AMAC denied a lot of political parties not to make 25%. So we imagine that those same people who conducted or contested the elections in 2023 are the ones on the ballot today, like the ADC candidate, Dr. Mo. So it's going to be very, very hard to rig anyone out of the elections. Like you can see what we see in the newspapers and on social media, where the candidate is telling Nigerians to warn the FCT minister and remind him that the FCT, the Abuja AMAC to precise, is not River State, where elections are written overnight and announced without fear or favor. AMAC election counts, and there's nothing anyone can do. Election votes must count in the FCT, and that's why we are here.
Mr. Nathaniel, let me come to you. Now, still talking about risks here when it comes to AMAC, I think the biggest threats are low turnout, voter apathy, vote buying, party intimidation, and INEC logistics. So I'm also wondering which one of these you think might be the biggest problem or the biggest risk, like we started out asking.
Okay, thank you very much. Let us eliminate the ones that are the least risks. For example, from the reports we are getting from the field so far, although it might be too early to determine vote apathy, I think people will come in, and because of the confidence that seems to have been left in the hands of Electoral Commission, I think people will come out en masse to exercise their civic rights, in terms of voting. So we are hoping, we are sure that, quite a lot of people will come out. I think for now, I do not see risks as such, except that, perhaps the ruling party in AMAC will struggle to maintain and to make sure that he gets back to his seat, and also perhaps in the other area councils. But I think quite a lot has been said about the power of the opposition, because they are also quite ready. But I think that with the information we have so far, there should be some level of fairness, and where there is fairness, there should be low risks in terms of the results we're expecting.
All right, thank you very much. We will be going back to our correspondent, Sumaya Abubakar. But before we do that, Olugbenga George, wanted to ask you a question. Let's take a look at the elections, at least whatever preceded it, and the mass defections that we saw as people moved from, different parties into a particular party. This also affected some of the parties rather adversely, like the LP, for instance. They have very limited representation, if at all any. And I'm wondering what you think about this sudden move of people and how it affected some parties to their disadvantage.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I think it's a very interesting political war, political situation that we have based on
Okay, Olugbenga, our apologies. We'll have to stop you there. We're going to come back to you, but your audio isn't too clear, so our apologies, but we'll be coming back to you in a minute. Welcome back on News Central. As we follow the FCT Area Council elections this Saturday morning, we're expecting voters to turn out. We're expecting to get correspondence from our correspondents who are across the 6 councils in Abuja. We've spoken to about 2 of them, and we'll continue through the course of the show today to bring you more of them. Of course, we have our guests here. Among them is Olugbenga George. Olugbenga, we tried to have you on before. Apologies, the network was pretty bad then, but I'm going to come back to you with another iteration of that same question that I was asking you. So from your perspective, you've worked with very young Nigerians. I'm wondering why Nigerians should pay close attention to the council elections. Let's note that 2022 was a big year for some parties, especially the small parties. And from my previous question, I mentioned the LP and its lack of representation currently in this elections. So I'm wondering exactly what you think, noting that the LP was a youth-led, majority-led youth party. Now this year without representation, how does that dynamic stick you?
Thank you once again for the opportunity. I think it begins with looking at what the LP represented in the last election. Very interesting. The LP, like you mentioned, represented, the yearnings of many Nigerian youths, many Nigerian voters who were looking for a place at the table, who just want to participate and become a part of the political process, after being disenfranchised or probably disenfranchising themselves for a very long time. Now, when we travel back, forward to 2026, you are looking at, okay, so how much does this translate? And now noting that the Labour Party, which was the vehicle in 2022, is not available for the people this year. How does it affect? Well, one of the things is that I do not think that it ought to affect that much, especially because the Labour Party still has its member of its senator, the senator representing the FCT was a member of the Labour Party, even though she has declared and decamped to the AEDC. And then we also have the House of Reps representing the major part of the FCT, the AMAC, and the other one. You also have Honorable Obi there, who was also a member of the Labour Party and is now in the African Democratic Congress. Now, for the several political parties that are participating, you also have the ADC, who did a bit much last election, but when you look at it now, for me, they happen to have some sort of advantage because they have the existing youth drive of 2022 alongside the new youth drive for in the Labour Party for 2026. So it's a combination of forces in my view. And this, although I'm shocked, I must confess, at the reports from the field, I expect that by now, some of those places in Karo, some of those places in Kuje are already jam-packed and overpacked with people who are willing to exercise their franchise today. But it's quite surprising for me to see that as a few minutes to 9 o'clock, we do not have these people filling these roles. Maybe they're in other parts of the town, maybe they are concentrating in other places, and I will be looking forward to those reports as, these conversations go on. But it's a key pointer to the fact that expectations need to move. That the people need to move from expectation to true participation. Because one of the things that we tell people, especially what we told our representative from our organization, the Coalition of Young Compatriots in Africa, is that today is a very important day. So we expect that as at 6 o'clock, everybody, are already dispersed. Everybody is in one polling unit or the other, trying to monitor the process and progress. So if people who, of course, are stakeholders, but not really part in terms of, voting, just a handful of us, by the way, are already out there. And we expect that the people for which we want to be out there to see their work, we expect them to be fully ready and positioned. So, and that's not happening right now. So it tells how much, there is between desire and actual action and actual participation in elections. But it may be too early in the day to judge, to say that people are not participating, but it is almost normal with our FCT elections to have voter apathy, that the people do not come out as expected, where you compare the number of people who register to vote with the people who actually come out to vote. There's usually a very wide gap in between. So with the total registered number of 1,680,000 people, that that is going to be participating in this election. And when you compare it with the number of collection rates, which is very, very encouraging, by the way, to have a 94.4% collection rate of PVCs, that is massive. and the result is now supposed to be totally different when we look at it and you place it side by side. If you have people who have collected PVCs this much, why did they collect these PVCs if they are not at their polling units, at their polling booths at 9 o'clock? During the last election, I think I was I covered in Kubwa Ward, if I do remember, yes, and at 6:30, some of the polling units and the areas where these elections were taking place were already jam-packed with people. I mean, people who wanted to accredit themselves, people who wanted to be sure that their names were on the voter register and all of that. But it's surprising for me to see, maybe I'm not in Kubwa, maybe I do not know right now what's going on there, but these examples that we have seen do not speak well for me, and they will go a long way to affect the outcome of this election. We expect that there is more participation, going by the level of awareness that has gone into this election, I mean, if anyone isn't very aware, the decision of the FCT minister to have shut down the city yesterday, to say that people should not go to work, people should, stay at home, is a sort of consciousness. Okay. And I also want to believe that this number of people who have gone out to also collect PVCs, collected it for a reason. Therefore, they must exercise this reason. They must come out, and we are looking forward to it in this process.
All right, George. George,
we hope that.
George, we also have guests in our Abuja studio, so we'd like to come to them now. Dr. Johnson, I want to come to you. Let's talk about AMAC specifically and the dynamics around AMAC when it comes to influence. We saw very dramatic events happen just before, just the past week here. We saw people relinquish their candidacy in support of other parties, and at the center of this was a very interesting phenomenon where you have cross-party relationships here. I'm wondering how that dynamic affects what we're going to see here today when it comes to voters going out to choose their council director, especially for AMAC. Dr. Johnson.
Yes, thank you. You see, when you talk about the AMAC election and those who are leaving their parties to join the ruling party, it's clear for you to know that, you see, the FCT minister is the one working all that. We have come to see a minister who is more interested in politics than the development of the lives and properties of the people in the FCT. We have come to see a minister who is interested in playing politics of being here, one leg here and one leg out. This is the first time in the history of Nigeria when we are seeing a strong political party presenting a candidate, going through the process and spending funds, and at the end of the day, one night to the election, they are stepping aside. The reason why all this is happening is because of the nature and personality that is running the activities of politics between the APC, the ruling party, and the PDP, where the minister belongs to. But you see, it's for us, we think it's a very easy, it's creating an easier win for the opposition, because the more they join themselves together, going out of their parties to support one person at the end of the day, the more the opposition gains more strength to beat them. But if we don't want to be biased, and we want to speak true to the democracy of Nigeria, you will understand that these elections in the FCT, most especially AMAC, is going to be an election between the Nigerian people in the side of the opposition and the president of Nigeria. Because you see, the president of Nigeria represents the APC, and definitely the residence of the president is inside of AMAC. And it will be shameful for the president to lose AMAC again like he lost his state in 2023. So practically, we are Nigerians. We have seen voices speaking from the Nyesom Wike side and the presidency. That I'm speaking about Ahmed Bola Tinubu, president of Nigeria, when he said he was telling the minister to deliver the FCT for him. When he said deliver Abuja for me, he's talking about AMAC where he resides. So practically, AMAC election is a bashing election, I'm saying it again. And if the Federal Capital Territory security people want peace in the FCT, it must start from this election and from AMAC. No one should be disenfranchised. No one should be refused votes, the opportunity to vote. And that will give us an election that is accepted, free, and fair. But I will use this opportunity to call on all Nigerians living in AMAC to start getting out of their houses and come out and vote. Because if you don't come out and vote, you don't have a voice to say you were rigged out. And if you don't come out and vote, definitely you will be rigged out. And I think it is time for us to put pen and paper, to put paper and pen on paper to say that these elections must be credible. So definitely the police, all those who are in charge of the elections must do their duties as written on paper. Because if they mistakenly touch the votes of the people, I think this city will be shut down, and that's not what we want. Because the AMAC election is even the major election in the FCT. So definitely, like I said before, without fear or favor, this election in AMAC is between the Nigerian people, using the ADC side, because the Labour Party is already disenfranchised by INEC, in connival with the courts and the people in power. But the election remains between the Nigerian people and President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, who leads the APC.
Now, when we do look at the candidate withdrawals, it's quite clear that these, in one way or the other, do affect voter confidence and democratic fairness in the grassroots. Mr. Nathaniel, should there be election rules limiting withdrawals closer to the polling days?
Well, withdrawal close to the polling date, well, it's all a matter of decision. Whatsoever anybody decides to do, it is what his heart has told him to do. And so you may not blame anybody, you may not clap hands for anybody for whatsoever decision he has taken. But there are two things. There could be the decamping from the body, and while there could also be the decision of the heart. And so these are the two things. Some people can be, maybe for the fear or for the challenges that he is facing immediately, decamp in the body, but he might not decamp in the spirit. So that is why we want to call for a free, fair, and credible election, that nobody is intimidated. Now, if people are allowed to vote their hearts, you see the true picture of their thoughts. Now, having said that, I want to believe that it shouldn't be a do or die affair, because there could also be dignity in losing. Now, because in life, they say variety is the spice of life. If you have done something, and another person wants to do it, allow him, if he has the power to do it, to have the grace enough to be able to deliver. And so it should not be clinging to power by all means, but people should be given fairness. I mean, a level playing ground, that everybody will be able to demonstrate his franchise, free from intimidation. And if that one is done, whatever the results we have from the elections will now, tell us the state of the mind of the people and what the people want. Perhaps if they have found that the people who have been in power so far have not been able to satisfy them, and they want to try another person out, that is it. So let us leave our minds open so that people can be allowed to exercise their franchise without fear or favor.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Nathaniel Atebije, my apologies if I got that wrong. I was wondering if the budget that is allocated to AMAC is also a consideration when parties or when candidates are vying for that seat. AMAC has an estimated about 8 billion or 12 billion coming its way each year. And I'm wondering how much that plays into the dynamics of things for this elections, for the candidates specifically, or let's say for the parties.
Definitely, that is also an enticement, because if you have a big purse you'll be able to do things that, will impact the lives of the people that you are serving. Again, I think quite a lot of the expenditure of AMAC has also been taken by the FCT administration, so that actually what AMAC should be doing is not being done. Let me give an example. For example, they collect money for wastes, and within the town, I'm not sure I've seen any, I don't know whether AMAC has any waste vehicle to collect wastes, and yet they go about collecting bills from, money from people, saying that they are for the services they do not offer. AEPB is the one offering the services, but they want to hang on the law or the judgment of a court to say that it is their schedule. If it is your schedule and you are not doing it, who should be paid for it? And so, yes, the money that is given to AMAC is a big enticement, is a big trap that will make anybody to be in that position. But let it be that anybody who is coming to such a position should be responsible enough to dispense these funds to impact the lives of people, or else it's comme ci, comme ça. So let us do it better.
Dr. Johnson, still on the budget, 8 to 12 billion. I'm wondering exactly how this translates to the other councils. If, well, of course, AMAC constitutes Wuse, Maitama, and all those big urban areas and the business, some parts of the business districts, and the focus seems to be on, maybe let's say the focus seems to be on this very big budget. Is that why perhaps there is no strong contention for these other, or attention rather, for these other councils, the smaller ones? Is budget, is finance a big part of it? Because these other councils have recorded and reported that they do not get these infrastructures like they bargained for during the elections. So what's the disparity here, AMAC's budget and the rest of the councils?
Well, I think AMAC's budget is huge. AMAC is just like a state in Nigeria with the same apparatus, just that via the constitution, it remains an area council in the federal capital city. But you see, the AMAC chairman is one of the most important, influential area council chairman in Nigeria. And that plays a big mark in issues of racketeering from the political parties. Like I said from the beginning, AMAC remains the local government area that controls the activities of everyday life that connects with the presidency. All the president's office are located in AMAC, the ministers, all of them. So the most important offices are located in AMAC. So definitely every political party will want to bust their hustle to say they took AMAC. And you know, in the politics of Nigeria, when you win the center, which is AMAC, it means that you are okay to go ahead to win the country. But on the other hand, if you look at the other 5 area councils, you will see that over the years, everyone who has been local government chairman have not been able to show responsibility of doing anything with the huge amount they collect. And to correct you, AMAC collects more than 12 billion naira, because we can see that AMAC collects 1.2 billion or 1.8 billion every month. So if you calculate it times 12, that is bigger. So practically, I will tell you that most of the funds allocated to AMAC are stolen funds, are funds stolen by the politicians. If you look at what comes in and what they do, you confirm that they've not done anything. And in looking out to what is going on in our country, most of the people who are AMAC, who end up becoming AMAC chairman, siphon or loot the funds that are supposed to be for the development of AMAC. If you go to the rural areas, no school, no good chairs, children are suffering, no water to drink, security very poor, electricity very poor, even the primary school that is in their hand very weak. So what exactly is AMAC doing with all the money that is coming into AMAC? And you see them parading thugs all over the city. that harass people on their cars and want to collect money for what they are not deemed fit. Look at the refuge all over the place. Look at Karo. Karo is supposed to be the biggest ward. That's my ward. That's where they rig. If they can rig you out in Karo, you are gone. If you win the election in Karo, you become the next AMAC chairman. So practically, if you understand what I'm trying to say, AMAC is very important to the politics of the center. Just like the way other people are decamping from their party into the party in the center, the APC, that's how it is important to win AMAC. So it's not about the money, it's not about the budget, it's about the prestige that we have worked so hard and we can control AMAC. And that's one of the reasons why Nyesom Wike was brought to the FCT as FCT minister, is to control the influence of votes. But you see, the residents are telling him, the people who live here are telling him that FCT, AMAC is not Rivers, where results are written overnight. And I tell you, for us to have a peaceful election, we should look at issues like vote buying and electoral malpractices, which brings the EFCC and the ICPC into our work. And security concerns and election-related offenses, violence, we should look at the ballot box being saved, because we know that by the small...
Mr. Johnson, Dr. Johnson, before
yeah.
you go too far, I just wanted to say that we are definitely going to be coming to that when it comes to vote buying, because that is the reason why there seems to be so much focus on security for these elections. But we do have other questions here.
Yes, Dr. Johnson, I'll stay with you. In terms of administration and priority and development, do you feel as though that the administration prioritized urban districts, Wuse, Garki, Maitama, over satellite communities like you mentioned, Karu, Nyanya, Kabusa, and Jikoi?
Yes, I think if you look at it very well, I like to use Karu, where I stay, as the flashpoint on this issue. You could see that the refuge bin blocks the road from the Karo, Kashi, Nyanya way into Orozo and all those areas. The refuge alone blocks the road. So if refuge can block the road and the chairman cannot do anything, what is he looking for to get back? Elections is about good governance, quality leadership, and respect for the rule of law. And we have not seen this in these areas. So we see that the AMAC chairmanship position is like a looting box for politicians and for political parties in history in Nigeria, because most of the things that AMAC chairman is supposed to do are done by the FCT minister. Let the AMAC chairman, who has served for 4 years, show Nigerians what he has done in the rural area. Nothing to show. To the level of ordinary refuge. Ordinary refuge cannot be administered. Refuge blocking the way, nobody does anything. Anybody do anything they want and nothing happens, no security. Do you know that in AMAC we have issues of insurgency and terrorism, and nobody's talking about that? AMAC is filled with one chance in all the transport opportunities we have. Inside 9 or 10 cars, we are looking at 5 cars as one chance. You see that and you ask the question, what exactly is the AMAC chairman doing? So practically, we should look at this very critically as we vote today and as we put our thumb on the ballot box to get somebody who can fix AMAC. Because AMAC, like I said, and I keep saying, is the center. AMAC is the #1 local government area in Nigeria. Apart from Ikeja local government that is richer, I think AMAC is supposed to be a state.
Much for such stellar response there. Also, Mr. Nathaniel Atebije, thank you very much for joining us as well. And Olugbenga George, thank you very much for also joining us. We might be coming to you guys again for more details regarding the processes that are happening inside of Abuja. But thank you for the segment so far.